Please be upstanding for the Mayor for the Borough of Melton, Councillor Alan Hewson.
Good evening and welcome everyone to Melton Borough Council. Evacuation procedure. In the event of having to evacuate the council chamber, please leave by one of the 6 emergency exits around the sides of the chamber. Please assemble at the far side of the front car park nearest to the park entrance. Officers will be on hand to assist persons who require any assistance. Public recording of the meeting. There is legislation that allows the public to film, record or use social media at a council meeting. This must not be disruptive to the good order of the meeting, nor include any filming or recording of the public seating area. Please switch mobile phones to silent. Microphones. Members are asked to physically raise their hands in the usual way to speak, indicate they wish to speak, or to use their microphones when speaking for the benefit of all present. The microphone is live when the red light displays. Electronic voting. Tonight we'll be using the electronic voting system. This means that all votes will be carried out via the microphone handsets. When voting is taking place, you'll be given 3 options: yes, abstain, and no. And there will be 3 buttons flashing beneath the options when the voting is open. Members will need to select the corresponding button in the order to which their vote, register their vote. I would now like to ask Pastor Neil Swettenham to offer prayers for this evening.
Well, good evening. On behalf of Churches Together in Melton, may I take this opportunity to wish you a very happy Christmas. I imagine you're just as busy as the rest of us at this time of year, but with the added responsibilities that being a councillor brings. So may I invite you to join me in a short prayer for Christmas preparations. Lord Jesus, light of the world, please send your Holy Spirit upon our Christmas preparations, including everything to be discussed and decided at tonight's meeting. We who are anxious over many things ask for an inner quietness in which to hear your voice. We who have much to do ask for moments of stillness and rest each day. We whose hearts are heavy seek the joy of your presence. We who walk in darkness seek your light. We who are blessed with peace remember those who are suffering war, thinking especially of those in Ukraine, Russia, Gaza, and Israel. And to you, this Christmas time, we say again, come, Lord Jesus, to our broken world and to our hearts and homes. Amen.
For absence. Apologies for absence have been received from councillors Glancy, Atherton, Ian Atherton and Evans. Can any member wishing to give apologies for another member indicate if they wish to do so? Therefore, I can confirm that we have
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Apologies for Councillor Richard Sharp. He's in Australia. I understand.
Okay, thank you. Apologies have been noted, so we can confirm there are 24 members present. Item 2, minutes. To confirm the minutes of the council meeting held on the 28th of September 2023. Do I have a proposer, please?
Close.
And a seconder, please. Thank you. Do any members have any comments to make in relation to the accuracy of the minutes? Councillor, yeah.
Yeah. I left the room during the leader's announcements when he spoke about the Waterfield Leisure Centre, as I'm a member of the leisure centre concerned. I came back in after he'd finished. This was after I was advised that I could stop in, but I chose to go out at that point. And it's not been recorded. Thank you. Thank you.
That's been carried, thank you. Item 3, declarations of interest. If any members would like to indicate that they have an interest to declare, could they please do so by raising their hand? Another registrable interest in respect of Councillor Orson is taken as being on record for any matters in relate to the County Council. Councillor Gordon.
Yeah, I am a member of the Waterfield Leisure Centre, and even though I can participate in the discussion on this topic, on this agenda, and can vote, I have decided not to participate at all on this due to the nature of the report, also on how the public may perceive it. However, on another occasion, I will participate on any agenda to do with Waterfield Leisure Centre and vote, but my conscience says no on this occasion. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members? No, thank you. Mayor's announcements. As you know, I won't go through all this time because we've got quite a big agenda to go through. So I will sort of piecemeal along as we've been doing it. There have been several different civic events throughout those 3 months as they sort of come up all the time. So Melton in Blooms, we've done several different things with those throughout these coming months, and that's been really interesting in how they're doing really good work to help promote the town centre and the shops around. I invited the new High Sheriff, Henrietta Chubb, to take her around the area. She only lives locally, but she'd never been round this area. So we invited her for the day and we took her up to the stockyard, down through the market. Then we took her to Duff Cottage for lunch and then back to Phoenix House and then back to Parkside. And she really appreciated being shown around the area. Thank you. The next big one then is the Remembrance Parade. That was a really, really well attended parade. And even better still, the amount of public that were actually lining the streets was huge this time. And it was credit to Melton that they actually came and support everybody that actually walks in the parade. Another small interesting one then. This, I got asked to go to Frisbee and Hobie and Rotherby Cricket Club for a presentation. That was a gentleman there who'd worked for the cricket club for 40 years, and they wanted to present him with an award, and they asked me to go and do that. That was really nice because this gentleman was not expecting it, but he was really, really grateful for what the cricket club had done. And it was nice to just do some what I call proper public awareness things rather than the civic dues. The Let's Get Moving Awards, I handed that over to the deputy, and because yes, he went to the start of it, so I'll let you do the finish.
Thank you.
The Christmas light switch on then, that was another really good evening. It was very, very cold, but the town was actually packed out all the way through the town. And it did give me a chance to dance with the beauty that's in Beauty and the Beast. So I can't really grumble at that one. I was the beauty, she was the beast. There was the carol concert, which that was another really good evening. We had 4 schools, 80 children, and in particular, the Birchwood School and MV16, they did a Maccaton Carol of Silent Night, which was excellent. The staff lunch, that went really, really well. Everybody was really pleased. There was everybody seemed to turn up. All the food went. There was anything left after everybody had gone. The quizzes worked out really well. And there was a photograph of me at Scorford School, and in the whole school photograph, and people had to pick out if they could find me on that photograph. But one person actually found me, but only one. Then the last thing I'll talk about is the fat stock. The fat stock dinner and the fat stock day, that went really, really well. There's some excellent cattle and everything at that fat stock. I know this is perhaps my line of business, but throughout that, there's lots of charity money raised. For my charity, Lauros and Dove, they were raised just over £5,000. For the Melton Beaver Agricultural Society, just over 2,000. Farm Community Network, just over 1,300, and RABI, nearly £500. We sold half a Stilton and a pork pie in the cattle auction ring, and by the time they kept selling it, putting it back in, selling it, putting it back in, it actually came to £2,700. But it was a fantastic day for me, but it is a really good fundraiser for the charities. That's the end of the Mayor's announcements. So item 5. Oh yes, I've got a special one, haven't I now? So when we went with the High Sheriff, we went round to Phoenix House, and I was really impressed with what was happening at Phoenix House and the presentation they gave. So I've asked them to come this evening so that all the councillors can hear this. I thought if you ask the councillors to come to a presentation, you might get half of you turn up. But this evening you're all here, and so you'll all have to listen. So, and they're making a really good job. So I'll ask them to come and give a short presentation, please. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'll be introducing it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha.
Okay, so 9 years ago, I'm just going to move on the presentation. Not working. No, it's there. It's done it. There we go. I've got it on here. Yeah, I've got it on here. So 9 years ago, the Me and My Learning Service, as it was known then, was created based on an ethos and a set of principles. Those principles are around supporting people to help themselves and gain digital independence, financial independence, and social independence. And ultimately, it's based on the principle that if you do right by your residents, you do right by your people, your performance will look after itself. The environment itself is constantly changing. The demands and needs of vulnerable people with complex needs are always changing, and the team do need to respond very quickly to flex and adapt the service to meet the needs of our residents. And what this principle has helped us to create is a dynamic and flexible service that evolves around the needs of its people. 9 years is a long time to cram into a 10-minute presentation. So what I'm going to ask a couple of our officers to do, the strategic lead for Connecting Enabling Communities and the team leader of the Community Support Hub, is to give us a timeline of highlights and some key developments and how the service has adopted. As it is quite a short presentation, we will be having an opportunity for questions at the end. Thank you.
Thanks, Aisha. Yeah, so as Aisha said, we're going to do this as quickly as we can. So I'm going to do a whistle-stop tour of the past 9 years. So as Aisha said, 9 years ago in June 2014, Me and My Learning was fully operational, and the first year it was funded by the European Social Fund. And in that first year, I think we had 3 partners, and now we've got 24 plus different partners. So we've come a long way in those 9 years. In the second year, in 2015, 2016, we were successful bidding for Transformation Challenge funding. And this was great because this meant we could create our digital suite at Phoenix House. And this is a digital suite with laptops where people from the community can come in, drop in, use it to access universal credit, use it to self-serve on our own in-house systems, and use it for job search and things like that. And we also have a digital drop-in on a Wednesday for people to come in and get support if they can't use digital things, if they haven't got a laptop, if they haven't got a phone, if they haven't got an iPad, they can come in and they can receive some support from a mentor who will guide them through that and show them how to do things. And as Aisha said at the start, it's about independence. So we'll show people how to do something, and then we would like them to do it themselves as well moving forward. And in this year as well, we implemented eSINs, which is our case management IT system. And this is a great system which is used up and down the UK. It's a multi-agency case management system. It is a cloud-based system. It's encrypted, but it's a centralized hub which enables the mentors to use a sort of whole person approach and link in with other partners because other partners use it. And we can sort of manage people when they're moving across different districts, etc. So it's a really good system. And we were the first in Leicestershire to pay for that and use that system. And now moving forward, actually, that's getting some momentum in Leicestershire. So we hope to see other partners utilising it as well. In this year as well, we were finalists for the CIH Midlands Awards for Social Impact of the Year. In 2016, 2017, we were successful for bidding for a skills funding agency contract. So we were subcontracting from a prime provider. And this was for the Careers Education Service for 16 to 24-year-olds to move them into education and training. And we were also winners of the IRRV Award of Excellence in Social Inclusion. And it was the first time that we won the High Sheriff's Award as well, which is awarded to organisations and people who've impressed the High Sheriff in Leicestershire across over the last 12 months. And we were also finalists at the LGC Awards for Business Transformation. So obviously that year was very busy by the sounds of it. In 2017 and 2018, we received the Matrix Accreditation Award, which is a unique quality framework assessing and measuring how we deliver information, advice and guidance. It is quite difficult to get, so we were quite impressed that we did that. And you're assessed over a period of time, talking to partners, talking to our customers, talking to the team, looking at our processes. So we were really pleased that we managed to get that. And in 2018, 2019, we were re-awarded that again as well. And at this point, we were working on our employment contracts, and we actually became, for the Skills to Work contract, we became the highest performing subcontractor in the East Midlands. And that was quite an achievement because the team had never done an employment contract before. I had, so I was leading that, but they were absolutely amazing. And we actually, that's where we started to move into an 80 to 100% sustained in work level, which is a great achievement because usually prime providers are targeted at keeping people in work, and it's a 20 to 25% success rate. And we're achieving 80 to 100%, and we're still achieving that to this day. And we were winners of the East Midlands Chamber Leicestershire Business Awards in partnership with Access All Areas. And in 2019-2020, we received our second High Sheriff's Award, and then COVID-19 happened. But we were actually, because of the infrastructure that we already had, we were able to mobilise very quickly. So we picked that team up and moved them from Phoenix House into Parkside, and that became the community hub, supporting our Melton residents through COVID-19. And that's where the Here for Melton hashtag began, which we're still using to this day and very successfully. And in that December of 2019, we were contacted by an organisation who'd been gifted lots of toys by the community during COVID-19 to give to children, families who were struggling due to furlough or losing their jobs. And so the team actually began giving those toys out to families. And again, it was very successful. Yeah, and so it's something that, you know, we would continue to do as well moving forward. In 2020-21, the case management team and the community hub became the community support hub because it was so successful during COVID-19 and the hashtag Here for Melton. So we actually did a quiet rebrand to the community support hub because the residents really took that on board. And so now they're working as the community support hub. And moving, you know, past COVID-19 into the cost of living crisis, we've absorbed that as well. So the team are working with those people who are affected by the cost of living crisis, keeping that Here for Melton hashtag. And Victoria will talk a little bit more about the community support hubs, cost of living crisis support and household support fund in the next slide. And in 2021-22, we received the Ministry of Defence Employee Recognition Scheme Gold Award, which is the highest badge of honours for employers who are working with those who serve in the armed forces, veterans, and their families who are living in the community. So again, that was a really big achievement. But moving forward to the present day, we have been awarded funding from the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. So we are utilising that in different ways. And one of the ways that we're doing that is with a work and skills project. So again, looking at employment, but I'll talk a bit more about that in the next slide as well. And we are supporting with the Afghanistan resettlement as well. But again, Victoria will talk about that in the next slide.
So in October 2021, the first round of the Household Support Fund started, and case management would be delivering this to the Melton residents. In the first cycle, we did around 400 referrals. On the most recent cycle, that had increased to 1,267. Melton delivered the most amount out of the 6 districts. As a team who promotes financial independence, we are aware that the next cycle in the new year could potentially be the last. We do not want to put restrictions on who can apply for the funding, but we will be having those challenging conversations with our customers to ensure the people who are most in need receive this. With those conversations, the team can also determine who will benefit from further support from our service, whether it be money management or more one-to-one support.
Thank you. Yeah, and as I said, so we've received UK SPF funding. So another one of our highlights for this year is our work and skills project that we're delivering. So we have a work and skills coordinator who is Stephanie Petruis, and hopefully we've advertised that quite well in the members bulletin. So hopefully you will have seen a lot about that. But we're utilising those funds by supporting customers who want to move into work or need upskilling or qualifications, but also working very closely with employers and our local employers to provide support to them. So Steph, who is the Work and Skills Coordinator, has already done jobs fairs, and she's set up training for employers around leadership and management, how to get the most out of their workforce, but also, as I said, working directly with customers, with CVs and upskilling and qualifications qualifications and moving into education and employment. And as you can see, it's really great achievement because we've got output targets and outcome targets, and those need to be achieved by March 2025. And actually, as you can see, she's already pretty much on target to well overachieve on those. And in relation to the basic skills, she's got a lot of courses coming in January. So again, we fully expect her to overachieve. So she's done an amazing job. So we're really thrilled with that. And particularly with the employment outcomes, which she will have far exceeded by the time the funding has finished.
So as part of the Afghan resettlement programme, 2 of our experienced mentors have been supporting several Afghan families. They've been working closely with Housing Options, who've been providing the housing support, while the mentors have been ensuring the families have access to healthcare, schooling, providing faith resources and English classes. Housing Options have recently taken on a resettlement officer who will be working alongside the mentors to help the families integrate into the Melton community.
Just one final slide,
Yep.
Just around development. So just wanted to touch very quickly. It is an incredible service. We can't deliver the service without the commitment, the passion and the skills of the team at the sharp end of delivery. We apply the same principles of development to our teams as we do to our residents. The mentors have very different skill sets and backgrounds, but staff have been supported and developed through the service to flourish within the service itself or elsewhere. There's a number of staff that have gone through from being service users to supporting us on reception to volunteering with us, and some of them are actually developed through the council to be mentors themselves. Some have gone on to supported housing roles. One of them has gone on to be at Safer Communities. Steph, as Laura mentioned, is actually delivering our work and skills. This is somebody that's never delivered work and skills before. A couple have gone to the MP's office as well. So the service basically embodies the values of this council in terms of how it develops, and I'm really proud of the staff and the council that this council supports this unique approach to service delivery for its most vulnerable residents. Thank you.
Thank you. And if any of the members want any more information, we won't do that this evening. If you want to contact them yourselves, then you can ask for any more information. Thank you. Councillor Cumbers.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, this has always been a caring council, you know, from the time that I first started, and to see all the stuff that has been done over the past few years, I think it is amazing. I think particularly back to the pandemic when that started, and how the officers all pulled together, all with to meet situations which we'd never ever sort of encountered before. I mean, that was, let's hope it's a one-off forever, but hearing all the stuff that's been going on over the last few years, a lot of this stuff members don't know about, you know, and I think sometimes, you know, more of it should be sort of made known to us as well as to the public, but well done to everybody. I think that, and we as a council have got a huge amount to be proud of. Thank you.
Councillor Allnutt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to say on behalf of all of us a big thank you, not just for the work that you do, but for coming and standing here. You do a better job than some of us, I think, speaking. I just want to say I will be mentioning UK SPF and the Afghan support in my speech, but you don't have to wait around to hear that. But may I propose a vote of thanks, Mr. Mayor? Can I do that? Well, I propose a vote of thanks. I hope someone will second me.
Mr. Brown.
Yeah, I would just really like to echo everything that's been said and just say you're well done to yourselves and your administration for continuing the work. I was fortunate enough to be involved in the setup of this with Keith Aubrey. And I remember interviewing Aisha to bring her in. I think it's probably one of the most astute decisions this council made. But just really, I hope you can continue. And certainly from this side, we will certainly support you expanding, doing, continuing this. And I would just like to say thank you for continuing it. Okay, later.
Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's just a short kind of comment. Having been around at the conception of the Me and My Learning and been fortunate enough to work with and work alongside the people that work in Me and My Learning and see all the work that was happening, I felt fortunate that I was able to not only be part of the council but work alongside the people that the service users that were using Me and My Learning was a really great thing to do, and I absolutely support and endorse everything that the Me and My Learning staff do for the community of Melton. Thank you.
Councillor Graham.
Very quickly, I would just like to thank them for the amount of good dinners I've had at awards when we've been celebrating the successes that you've had from the armed forces to the local government. Sort of time in London. We've had a lot of fun together, and thank you very much. And I do intend, I do really ask councillors, just get in touch with Phoenix House and go and have a look. It is incredible. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move on to item 5, leaders' announcements, please.
Shall we vote on the position, Mr. Mayor?
We can vote, yeah.
Do you want to vote?
Yeah,
Yep.
vote of thanks.
Vote of thanks.
Yeah, we'll just do it manually.
Then,
I think do it manually. Just do it manually. Do it
Can the
manually.
members just raise a hand for the vote of thanks then, please? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll now invite the leader then to make his announcements. Nice and short and sweet, please. Thank you.
My announcements are always sweet.
But not short.
I won't speak for very many minutes, but I can't guarantee the hours. I would like to mention straight away the 2 documents on your desk in front of you. Councillor Ronan Brown has already been good enough to compliment the staff on this document, which is about the tenants annual report. The other one I want to bring to your attention is a very fine document produced by a very small team. That's the a Melton Taste Adventure and other documents they produce. They actually got 3 cheers really from the local area board of the UK SPF activity. Everyone there felt they were really first rate, and I hope, Mr. Mayor, that the Chief Exec can carry back that view. I now wish to pay tribute to Gina Patterson, who passed away a few days ago. She and George Patterson were fondly known in the village of Somerby quite widely, and of course to my friend Councillor Higgins. They lived at Westview, Somerby, as tenants of our council. I also need to thank officers who supported Gina and George, recognising her first fierce independence, but also recognise the excellent idea of building a memorial garden which was my reading is not very good tonight, which was a fundraising effort by local residents, and it's now looked after by NBC. And I'm asked to say a very special well done to our officers, to Michelle Howard and to Chris Flannery in their support in that task. I now need to move on to welcome a new member, Margaret Clay. With my good friend Steve Carter, they will make a formidable team, and I'm sure they will compete with the Bottisford boys for my attention. I acknowledge in the public seats the former Mayor Peter Faulkner and thank him for an election campaign conducted with honesty and integrity. And I can confirm that in Asperby there will be no off-street parking charges. Mr. Mayor, with yourself and others, I also attended the Remembrance Service on the 12th of November. For me, this was not just a civic duty, but a personal homage to 7 uniformed generations of my family who experienced the full gamut of warfare. I also wish to thank Councillor Ian Atherton, who's not here tonight, but I'm sure Ziggy will carry it back, for his assistance on that day. On a lighter note, I also wish to thank the BID Secretary Sheila Kaur and my colleague Councillor Sharon Butcher, our staff, and working in different capacities, and the members of the town estate and many others for making the Christmas lights switch on another success. The council, in fact, spends £42,000 on supporting all of the Christmas lights. But I mustn't forget my good friend, Councillor Melise Graham, for selling me a winning card for just £1 at the Rainbow Store. I enjoyed every one of the sticky confectionaries, and I have a dental appointment tomorrow. On the 30th of November, I sat with Councillors Tim Webster and Pat Cumbers at the Let's Get Moving Awards evening. I think we were all moved by the range of nominees, their ages, life experiences, endeavours, and of course, their accomplishments. Thanks go to our staff, particularly Jake sitting over there, for making such a brilliant success of this important event, which highlights that sport really is for everyone. I was slightly embarrassed when my football experience with Jimmy Greaves was revealed. I always played on the left wing, of course, but I could always assist with a very swift pass in the centre ground for a decisive goal. Mr. Mayor, very briefly, in January, I will be issuing a public document, initially to all members, covering a wide range of council business, and it will form the basis of my annual report to scrutiny later in the year. And my good friend, Councillor Mike Brown, will hold me to account, I feel certain. A quick romp, if I may. I thank the work of the Asset Management Group and confirm reports in the press that we have now removed a plan for a second doctor's surgery at Melton Sports Village, and that the preferred option is now in this building. Work is going well, and if the details are agreed, I believe that the NHS ICB will set the timetable for filling the building up with doctors in due course. And I may say, without any rancour, that I think that removing the idea of the doctor's surgery from Melton Sports Village has actually helped with the other major task we have in front of us this evening. But we'll be discussing the new leisure services contract later in the agenda. On the Rutland and Melton Levelling Up Fund implementation, I attended a board meeting on the 3rd of November, and I met with senior figures at Rutland yesterday. And we will be meeting our current MP in the new year to discuss this project and to keep her up to date. In Melton, for the stock market, the Cabinet has been engaged with the contracted architect on building designs and so on. The planning application I would expect to be about April, with construction starting in earnest in the summer. Using Luff funds, a professional project manager is being sought, and public information on the whole project will be commencing in the new year. And it's my intention to keep all members very, very well up to date on what's going on. Now, linked with that is the fact that on the 6th of December, we met with Stevenson's Melton Brooksby College, SMB, together with the senior regional manager for the Department of Education, who happens to live in the borough, oddly enough, and the state and also a further education commissioner. I think the difficulties of the college are well publicised and in the public domain. Our focus was, of course, the status of their part of the Levelling Up Fund project, which is the theatre. But we covered a wide range of mutually significant issues, and we are working on all of these, and I will report in due course as the pieces fall into place. On the 5th of December, I chaired our second local area board, which oversees the rollout of the programme, the overall rollout of the UK SPF. The full report to members will be in January. I was particularly gratified to hear from external members that Melton is actually ahead of the game in terms of organising this particular task. And I'm delighted to confirm that the business grants will be awarded in the new year, and we have an external third party to sit on the board, which is a representative of the East Midlands Chamber of Commerce. This will emphasise that it's like Caesar, we're above suspicion, and that we've got someone with knowledge of business, but also outside of the immediate family who can help us make the decisions. And I believe we will be having a similar person to help us with the Community Grants Awards, but more of that later. I have held meetings with Severn Trent Water on the 28th of November and the National Grid on the 11th of December. Our meetings covered current problems and future plans, and I'll be making a full report to parish councils as well as members here in January. And I'm very grateful to the parishes and members who responded to my questions about current problems and past planning applications. I need to mention now, at Freeby Close in Melton, we have a very concerning legacy issue around flooding, sewage and electrical control units. I've been working on this problem with officers and other agencies for some months. Our MP has agreed to support if necessary. The next step with Severn Trent's active participation, for which I'm very grateful, is to engage with other agencies to establish an action plan building on work already done or in hand. I will report to ward members, Councillors Butcher and Councillors Atherton in due course, and of course to all members subsequently. Now, I attended the routine meeting of the Leicestershire District's, I forget what we're called now, panel committee at Hinckley on the 22nd of November. I say no more about that at this stage. This week, I logged on to a webinar meeting on the 7th of December with the new Minister for Local Finance. He's only been in the job 3 weeks, but that may be quite true of a lot of ministers, I think. Now, he confirmed, and this is interesting, that the routine consultation on the annual settlement will be late, as it always is, and it will be with us on the 18th of December. This makes the job of preparing our budget and tax proposals rather hard work, because it concertines everything together. But I'm sure that Dawn and her team will rise to the occasion, as they always do. Interestingly, he said something else, rather obiter dictum, if you see what I mean, that he will be turning his attention to the question, and I quote, "What is the role of local government?" So when he's finished with finance, he's going to be looking at the role of local government. Now, I don't know what that means in the current context, but no doubt we will find out in due course. Nearly at the end, Mr. Mayor. I have received correspondence from the Ministry of Defence, ministers and officials, including the Army, thanking us for our help with Afghan refugees, and of course requesting that we might help further, but also we might get some money to go with it. So we'll watch this space. Now, I have written to our Police and Crime Commissioner complaining about statements issued regarding antisocial behaviour and crime in Melton, including what I regard as a false assertion that this administration was doing nothing. We will be meeting with him, and I will be continuing, but this is not a debate, Mr. Mayor, so I will say no more on that. I did write to our MP, Alicia Cairns, thanking her for her statesman-like interview with Andrew Marr and a similar House of Commons statement following the murderous attacks in Israel on the 7th, 8th of October of this year. And I'm sure we're all concerned about that. And as it is Christmas, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to finish by saying that, of course, the Gaza Strip has, as of the beginning of this week, 800 Christians living there. And there used to be 2,000. And I know the area very well over 40 years. And Palestine, of course, that were the West Bank and Israel. Traditionally, in the Christian tradition, it is the route taken by Joseph and Mary with baby Jesus as they escaped from the murderous assault of Herod. And indeed, I've seen the skulls of children from that time, which attest to the events of that period. So I would say that at this point, our Christmas, the words of our minister who spoke to us ring really true. But nevertheless, it should not prevent us from enjoying all the champagne and mince pies that you have for us later on, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6, public question time. One question has been received. The question is from Mr. Faulkner and is addressed to the Chair and Audit Standards, Councillor Higgins. I'd like to invite Mr. Faulkner to ask his question, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Following a code of conduct hearing against me in 2020, whilst I was a serving councillor, there were many procedural errors noted, which resulted in the council commissioning an independent review into the whole procedure. Please, can you give me a brief outline of the time taken to complete the review, the result of the independent review, and the amount that this review cost the council? Can you also confirm that I received a written apology from the council? Thank you.
I'll now invite Councillor Higgins to provide a response. Councillor Higgins, as this is a question relates to a standards issue, I ask you that you limit your response to factual issues relating to the procedural review and do not stray into the subject matter of the questioner's actual case before the standards subcommittee for reasons of confidentiality. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And as I gave the undertaking to you earlier, I absolutely intend to do that. May I just apologise for my back to be at the questioner? It's I think maybe in future, if public questions, it's but I don't want to appear rude. My back is to you. So thank you for your question. I can confirm that following a standards hearing in November 2020, and having received a number of concerns regarding the process followed, the then monitoring officer commissioned an independent review of the process used both in this case and when considering complaints against members who are also councillors, more generally under the Member Code of Conduct. The review was completed in July 2021 and contained a number of recommendations for improvements to the procedure for handling complaints in line with best practice. I'm informed that the council paid the sum of £4,700 in professional fees to the external solicitors who undertook the review. I can confirm that the review concluded that there were a number of flaws in the council's process for handling the complaint against you, which, taken cumulatively, could have resulted in the process being deemed to be unfair. As a result of the findings, the Council's Code of Conduct and associated processes and procedures were thoroughly reviewed and guidance updated. The new Code of Conduct was adopted by this Council in April 2022, and we are currently in the process of further improving the hearing process in line with best practice. On that, with the Audit Standards Committee, and I'd like to thank my Vice Chair on that as well, Councillor Mason. I can also confirm that the Council sent you a written formal apology in November 2021, acknowledging the flaws in the Council's previous procedures. The apology issued to you acknowledged the fact of the findings in the review could have entitled you to a fresh hearing. However, you had instead decided to accept the apology in light of the passage of time and obviously to the cost to the public purse in undertaking any new investigation and any rehearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Faulkner, if you wish, you can ask a supplementary question. May I remind you that in accordance with the procedure rules, the supplementary, the original question or the reply.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to ask a supplementary, please. Based on what Councillor Higgins has just said, I note the Council has taken the necessary steps to prevent a harmful repeat of procedural errors of this nature. Whilst the council has acknowledged there were procedural errors, as an individual, my personal reputation was damaged and continues to be damaged. The council has spent, as was mentioned, £4,700 on the independent review, but none of the findings have ever been
Mr.
made
Faulkner,
public.
can you?
Yeah, I'm just
put it
I'm
through
there
to a
now.
question, please.
I'm there
Thank
now.
you.
My question is, with at least 18 procedural errors noted in the summarised report that was given to me at the time, will the council now publish the report in full, provided that there is no breach of GDPR, so that it can be viewed by both members and the public? Thank you.
Councillor Higgins, can you respond, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Faulkner, for your supplementary question. I hope my response earlier, which I'd like to thank Alison McCain for assisting me with drafting that, has given you some solace into that. In regards to your supplementary, with respect, if I could consult with officers on that, and we will get back to you and make sure that that is in writing. I will take guidance from Alison McCain whether to publish that to members as well, the response that we give to you, if that is okay. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for that. There's just one more thing to say, and that's to wish all officers and members a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from members. A question has been received but has been subsequently been withdrawn. Therefore, no questions from the members have been received. Item 8. Motions on notice. There is one motion on notice to hear this evening. I invite Councillor Butcher to propose and outline the motion. The mover of an on-notice motion may speak for up to 10 minutes.
In recent years in helping our local community, particularly during the pandemic, and wish to thank them for all their hard work and dedication. Everyone should have the right to work in safety and free from violence and abuse, especially when bravely tackling shop thefts and criminal damage to property, especially in the run-up to Christmas. It is alarming to hear directly from employees in the Melton area of such abuse being faced recently. And this is not just a local issue, but across the country, as reported by supermarket CEOs. This council condemns any abuse suffered by our retail workers and calls on all partners to ensure that retail and supermarket workers can have confidence that their reports of such behaviour are acted upon swiftly and appropriately. And the council tasks the leader and the deputy leader to write to the partners, the Police Crime Commissioner, the Inspector of the Melton Police Station and Youth Services at Leicestershire County Council to endorse this approach. Thank you. Oh, can I move the motion, please?
Can I invite Councillor Higgins to second the motion? Would like to provide your speech of up to 5 minutes now. I will reserve until later in the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hope not to take 5 minutes up, but I will reserve my for after the debate, if that's okay with you.
Councillor Allnett.
Mr. Mayor, it's incumbent upon me to speak because I'm mentioned in the motion. So I think I ought to indicate that I'm delighted to be able to do that. And I've spoken with Councillor Margaret Glancy, and she is also delighted. As somebody who's got 5 members of my family have served in the police service, including one of my grandsons currently far away from here, thank goodness. I do understand the problems of the police service, and I want to put on record my thanks to all the police officers and the new is it a superintendent? I forget the terms now, who visited scrutiny committee. They've all turned up at various forums where lots of different local people and lots of my colleagues have attended to discuss these difficult issues over the past few months. I sometimes think if we could have one forum and then they could get on with their day job, as it were. There are huge problems facing the police service across the country, and our problems in Melton are not untypical. But I think this motion encapsulates where we should be as a council and how we can go forward in partnership with the police service and other agencies to try and deal with this difficult problem. So I'm delighted to support the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to move an amendment. I totally agree with the first 4 paragraphs of this motion, though I must admit that I feel guilty that I did not realise what a serious situation has occurred in Melton. Mr. Mayor, something must be done to address this situation, and I do not feel that letters from the leader and the deputy leader to those listed in the motion will have the desired effect. The Police and Crime Commissioner has been extremely generous to our borough, not least by helping enormously with our CCTV and funding many other initiatives. As those who have ever attended a JAG will also appreciate, several of the offenders are already known to the police. The council chairs a Melton Safer Community Partnership. Partners mentioned, including the police, Attend, and the Police and Crime Commissioner's Office are represented, as are the County Council. Mr. Mayor, I'd like action, and I therefore move an amendment to the motion that we replace the last paragraph with, and the council tasks to the leader and deputy leader to write to the chair of a Melton Safer Community Partnership, highlighting the issues in the 4th paragraph, and ask for a report on what the Melton Safer Community Partnership intend to do to be brought back to this council in time for the council meeting on April the 18th. Thank you.
Do we have a seconder for the amendment, please? Councillor Olsen.
Yeah, I'm very pleased to second that motion and withhold any comments I may have until later.
Thank you. I would now like to ask the mover of the motion if they would be willing to accept the amendment.
Yes. Yes, I accept that.
And second to that, please.
Yeah, I think I think that's a good amendment. And to be fair, is just to be really clarify on that, as Councillor Graham says, is the Police Crime Commissioner is a really important partner of this area, and this is not meant to be any particular criticism. It is, the focus is on the individuals mentioned which are supermarket workers and retail workers. It isn't anything to do with necessarily focusing on how agencies are performing or whatever, but the focus is to support those out there who are serving as retail and supermarket workers. Thank you.
So we're now that's been accepted then as the amendment is within the motion.
Yeah, it's now that's now the substantive motion.
Councillor Cumbers.
Yeah, as this is addressed to me, I'll just say a few words. What's been happening in town has been absolutely unacceptable. You know, it's beyond belief, and it's not just ordinarily what I would think of as antisocial behaviour. A lot of it is criminal. As far as what's being done, there is a huge amount going on out there to prevent it and to deal with what's happening and to punish where punishment is needed, and to stop it sort of continuing, because we can't live like that. in all my years, I've never known people in shops being attacked and threatened. You know, it really is beyond belief. But locally, we know that this council officers are working, the police are working, other groups are working. They're working to stop it, but also to help the children. I mean, sometimes the children have got problems. Often the children have got problems, and some of the mums have got together because they're worried about their children. They don't want their kids doing what they're doing, and they're trying to stop it. And to that end, some of us met recently with some of the mums, and the mums now are going to they're voluntarily getting together to sort of do some more youth work. But it is a huge problem. But I absolutely agree that especially the criminal stuff, that those children, they've got to know, and of course it's not always children, sometimes they're adults as well, but they've got to know that if they don't sort of toe the line, then they can end up in court. And I can remember some years ago at Valley Road on Dorian Ward, and there was such a nuisance with just a small group of children and driving the shopkeepers mad. And Inspector Folwell it was at the time, and he and his officers were doing everything to try and dissuade these children and get them to behave. In the end, they took one of the girls to court. And I can't actually remember what happened in court, but I do know that antisocial behaviour stopped immediately. And everything was fine then with the Valley Road shops. And not so long ago, I've seen that girl, and she's got a very responsible job in town, you know, so she did come through it. And of course, often these young people, they do, you know, grow through it, but she did. I don't know whether that her going to court, whether that's in itself stopped her and made her think, I don't know, but sometimes it's not easy growing up, but that, believe you me, there's a huge amount going on in the background to stop what's happening and to prevent it happening in the future. Thank you. And I'll do the report as requested.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, so just to reconfirm then, so the substantive motion being debated is, can I just finish my point? Sorry.
As a former seconder of the amendment, can I just wind up, please?
Yeah. I just want to clarify. I just want to clarify the position, and then the position is that the amendment has been accepted by the mover and seconder, so it has become the substantive motion. So there won't be a vote on the amendment. The debate essentially restarts at that point. So any member who's spoken at this point is able to speak to this amended motion. So I just want to make that point. Mr. Mayor, it's now to you to decide who you wish to direct the next question to.
Can I ask you then, as the seconder to the motion, if you want to make a comment, please?
Yeah. Sorry, just a point of order is, I think just a point of correction is the mover and the seconder has accepted the amendment. So Councillor Butcher is the proposer still, and
yes.
So just to clarify that.
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, just to be clear, yes. So there is no amendment. There is no amendment now that's been moved and seconded. That's been subsumed within the substantive motion. However, all members are able to speak now on the now substantive motion.
Councillor Orson.
Speaking on the now substantive motion then, thank you very much, Mr. Chief Executive. And I may mention one or two national things, and I look to you, Chief Executive, with your background in community safety, if I get things just slightly wrong. I'm not going to go on too long. You're very fortunate actually, but I had pages of here to go through. But one or two things did pop up. One thing has popped up in my memory tonight. It's a Labour politician who brought about CSPs, of course, which was John Smith. I believe it was in 1996, was it? Something like that. And you know, John Smith, my other half, she lives in Bradford, and of course, John Smith was MP for Huddersfield, and that name is still so strong in West Yorkshire. It's unbelievable. And they even named a football pitch after him, or football ground after him, didn't they? So yeah, so John Smith was the architect of all this. The CSP, the Melton CSP, is certainly the appropriate place to take this. There's no doubt about that. For those who don't know, it is made up of statutory bodies. There's 7 of them. I'm not looking at notes. I'll try my best. The OPC, the police, the health, combined fire authority. Who else, Ed? There's 7 of them. Sorry. probation, of course. So there's 7 of them. They come together. When I did a little bit of background, Sharon, on the Melton website, I didn't see that Melton Bid are invited to the Community Safety Partnership. Can you confirm that, Pat?
They weren't at the, there've only been 2 meetings so far. The last meeting, it clashed with a bid meeting, so she wasn't, but the previous meeting, she did attend. Yes.
Yep, because as Lee will know, I spent 7-10 years going around CSPs and virtually at all the other community safety partnerships, the bid were invited, and they play a really key part. I can remember massively strong in Loughborough especially, and in one authority, which I can't remember, they ended up chairing the CSP. So yeah, this motion is right. I'm glad everyone has accepted it. I look forward to the report. April does seem a long way. I've looked to my leader here. I suppose if it was ready before February, it could come to February as well, but I'll leave that to Pat and the partnership to decide. Just so, thank you very much to all for supporting Melissa's amendment. Thank you.
Before I open the debate, I'll just ask the leader if he wants to make a comment before the debate.
I don't think I will.
No.
Thank you.
I'll now open this debate and invite members to raise their hand to indicate whether they wish to speak. Please note that any speeches must not exceed 5 minutes. Anybody indicate, please? No. Thank you. I can confirm that no members wish to speak. We will now proceed to a vote.
I just want to close it a second, a formal seconder. I've reserved my, yeah. Mr. Mayor. Well, thank you, members, and thank you also for the amendment, which I think is a real positive part, and it's good positive working with each other. I know when this was sort of raised with members and members of the public, this came in from a personal experience where I and Debbie, we went to Aldi, and as we were just buying some goods, the supermarket assistant there told us how she stopped someone trying to steal goods. And as they were leaving Aldi, they probably was pretending that they were visually impaired. And the gentleman concerned took a stick to her, and she said, I'm not paid to tackle that. We then went to Sainsbury's, and lo and behold, as we were just talking to that checkout assistant, that person told Deb and myself how someone was just abusive to them, not necessarily criminal. And what we're hearing a lot with retail, and I think a lot of it was the pandemic, and that's what I would just want to remind members where the motion holds its basis. While there are partners and there's agencies and all the other stuff, this is to acknowledge what retail and supermarket workers do for us and what they've done for us in the pandemic. And it's to acknowledge that they don't and they shouldn't be subjected to this behavior. And whether it's criminal behavior or just people just being rude or abusive, they're not there for that. And while Christmas is coming up, it's their Christmas too. It's their place of work. And that's where the fundamental part of this motion is. It's to acknowledge and thank those supermarket and retail workers that we have in our area. So I'd like to thank the leader, Melise, Councillor Cumbers and Councillor Orson for their comments into this debate. And I'd like to thank obviously the mover of the motion, Councillor Brown, who I know has been working on that. Councillor Brown didn't tell the story, so if with your permission, I will tell the story. Councillor Brown messaged me yesterday and just as a token went to one of the retail workers, I won't say who or where, but has had a really, really difficult time personally. And if I may say, the flower base donated a bunch of flowers, which Councillor Butcher donated that to this worker, and she was over the moon with it. So I think that is a lovely token of an embodiment of this motion. And what I would say is a comment, is while we're going shopping and it's all very stressful and, you know, and it is all stressful at the time. And I think we've heard it before, Christmas is about other things, not necessarily just going and buying and giving gifts. But those supermarket workers, the retail workers who are going to help us put food on the table as we go and buy, and those presents that people will open and have a lovely day over Christmas. But we've got to thank them for everything that they do in the run up to Christmas and all year round. And when the pandemic, they were there on the front line. And so I'd just like to remind all those in the public and anyone who's watching this motion, and obviously those bodies that we're now going to write to, just to remind people, customers of these establishments, it's just nice to be nice. Oh, and including Ladbrokes as well, Steve. But yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We're now, that was the end of the debate now, so nobody wished to put the hand up before, so we'll now proceed to a vote. Please use the electronic voting system in front of you to choose either for, against, or abstain. I can confirm that that's a unanimous. Thank you. Item 9, political balance. I will now invite the interim monitoring officer, Alison McKay, to present the report on the political balance and the association of seats to political groups. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So very brief introduction. The report seeks members' approval to the revised political balance and allocation of seats in accordance on committees in accordance with the political proportionality rules set out in the Local Government and Housing Act 1989 following the recent by-election. The report sets out the revised allocation of seats according to the proportionality rules, and members are asked to approve the recommendations as set out in the report. I think Appendix B, yes, to the Local Plan Review Working Group and the Constitution Working Group. So I think where they're referred to in the recommendations, then those are the tabled documents that are referred to.
In that case, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to propose formally.
Yeah. Do I have a seconder, please?
Yeah, happy to second. And just on that, I'd just like to welcome Councillor Clay to the council. And as someone who represents her son in the Somerbury ward, I don't very much have to advocate for him. He's loud enough, proud enough to say what he thinks. So welcome to the team. Thank you.
I'll now open this item to debate and invite members to raise their hand to indicate whether they wish to speak, please. Councillor Pritchett.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, Mr. Mayor, members. In respect of recommendation 2.8, the appointment of Councillor Butcher as the second representative on the bid board, the Conservative group do not object, providing any inherent conflict of management by already declaring a business within the town centre area and already being a bid director can be managed on that in that particular role. So we're not objecting, but we're asking that you can manage in some way, manage any inherent conflict of interest on that. Thank you.
Can I just refer to the question? It's a very good question because I asked that last May when I already knew that I was appointing in the cabinet and that my colleague was already a director. And I was assured at the time that providing the individual declares an interest, as happens on planning committees, and as appropriate recuses themselves, there is no conflict intrinsically. Whether I looked at the articles of association of the bid for a number of different reasons, and I do find that the wording is there's a lot left out, and it needs to be tightened. So I would suggest, picking up your point, we will take further advice on that part of your question that refers to the directorship. Of course, this council contributes to the bid. We pay a levy, so anybody going there has got an interest. Can I also say that I'm invited to attend as an observer, so I will keep a beady eye on it. And but I take the point. It's a fair question, but I can assure you that my colleagues, not just Councillor Butcher, but also Councillor Glancy, are very aware of their duties to declare an interest as and when it arises. Thank you.
No. We will now proceed to a vote on this then, please. The electronic voting system in front of you for either for, against or abstain. The outcome of that unanimous, thank you. Item 10. I will now invite the portfolio holder for corporate finance, property and resources, Councillor Cox, to present to the Cabinet. Present the Cabinet recommendations to the Council on the Treasury Management Mid-Year Report 23-24. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm pleased to propose this report to the Council. The Council is once again top of the East Midlands benchmarking group. And for those of us that attended the Treasury Management training, we have to note that the team are amongst the leaders nationally in terms of their investment performance. This additional income, as shown in the previous reports this year, is helping offset some of the financial challenges we face elsewhere. We know that interest rates will fall at some point, and currently that is being forecast for the tail end of next year. Where there is certainty over cash balances, these high rates are being locked in through longer term investments, so we can benefit from these rates well into the next financial year. Our property fund is doing less well in terms of its value, but this is again returned at a rate of 3.74% this quarter, which means it's a good overall investment as it's returned significant amounts in previous years. I'd like to just highlight to councillors that they did receive an amended Appendix 2 where there was a typographical error in terms of where our investments are, and our investments are limited to 6 million in any one particular country. So that was amended and sent out to all members. And I'm therefore happy to propose the recommendations at 2.1 and 2.2. Thank you.
Do I have a seconder, please?
Mr. Mayor, happy to second and reserve my right. Thank you.
Now I open this item to debate and invite members to raise their hand to indicate if they wish to speak, please. Councillor Higgins.
It's just a quick one, actually. It was from various young members of our community, because they're starting to pay for their services, something that's, is different, and it's called cryptocurrencies. And I've had some questions from the Somerby Ward. Will Melton Borough Council allow you to pay your council tax or their services in Bitcoin? And just for note, and because Dawn will probably have a heart attack because the way it's up and down all the time, it's not easy to manage. But at the moment, it's $41,000 for one Bitcoin. And with BlackRock looking to get an exchange traded fund approved in January next year, and some governments, local government and national government, starting to adopt it, it might have to be something that councils and government in this country may have to think about. But I'm not proposing that we start doing that straight away, Dawn, just so you can have a Merry Christmas, if that's okay. Thank you.
Any other members wish to speak, please? Councillor Cox. Councillor Cox.
Well, thank you, councillor Higgins. I'll take that back to Dawn, but perhaps it's one to consider just after Christmas, so she doesn't have a heart attack before. What I would like to highlight, I've read many articles on cryptocurrency, and I think one of the things we have to praise our financial team for is not taking any risk with our investments. And I'd like to draw all members' attention to on Appendix 2, and it's a previous position taken by our colleagues across the floor, and that our risk is only currently 0.02%. And I think that that's a very prudent way to continue, but thank you.
Any other members wish to say? No. Right, the recommendations are to note, and I can confirm that this item has been noted by council. Thank you. Item 11.
I wonder, forgive me for interrupting, I wonder if I could have the opportunity to speak to Alison McKay, who speaks there.
Yeah, happy to adjourn for a minute or two while you have a conversation. Thank you.
Writing down.
Councillor, we're just going to adjourn for a few minutes while we get everything settled down. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, with your permission, it's not heart. She has ME and she has fatigues. This is fairly normal. I've never seen her as bad as this. She's just been overdoing it, actually. I don't know where she gets that from, but there you go. I'll just, husband's going to collect her. I'll come back in a second, all right? And then.
Thank you, councillors. Thank you. Can I ask Councillor Adcock to speak, please? Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I apologise to, I'm so sorry. I apologise to you and the other councillors for not raising this issue earlier. But having taken advice from the monitoring officer, I've determined that I may have a potential pecuniary interest in item 11. And I'm therefore going to withdraw and will not take part in the debate or the vote. Thank you.
Right, item 11.
Yes, I'm going to leave as well.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, item 11, members, this item can begin in open session, but will move into private session for the debate, as there is a significant amount of exempt material due to the commercial sensitivity of the contents. I will now invite the leader, Councillor Olnett, to present the Cabinet recommendations to Council on the leisure contract and award of the contract to be preferred contractor and investment proposals. Do I have a proposer, please? Thank you.
Mayor, I will be brief in any case. I want, first of all, to move it, and I can speak now, can I? But I want first to thank Councillor Melise Graham for passing on the portfolio file to my colleague, Councillor Pat Cumbers, when we changed administrations, and that was a very decent thing to do. I also want to put on record that I recognise and thank the previous administration for setting in train over a year ago the work to around the framework for developing the policy. So that was a wise action. I have to say, at the time, I was critical of some aspects of it, still am a little bit, but it's worked out okay. So I thank them for that. I also want to acknowledge, as we're in public domain, that there are some individual groups who use the MSV Sports Hall who are being inconvenienced by this change. And I want to thank our officers for working overtime on this. I deliberately asked for the proposals to be made public ahead of the private session this week, because I felt that users ought to be aware of what was going on, even if they didn't like it and they wanted to bombard me with emails. That's a democratic right. They've got genuine and legitimate concerns, but I'm going to explain why those concerns exist very quickly. We know that both venues, the Waterfield and MSV, are in a parlous state and really will have to be replaced eventually. I mentioned in full council last June the cost of just replacing the swimming pool, which is enormous. So we can't do that now. I put that into the within the context of the long-term strategic plan, which is more doable. In the meantime, the first order of business was to ensure that we deal with the problems at Waterfield and that we retain a swimming pool, because there are 19 primary schools dependent upon it to for their curriculum. And while you can move netball teams around and badminton around, you can't move swimmers around. So, and the package that we're offered essentially enables us to do that and to provide what I call a springboard for the future. And I am certainly committed to going forward to provide other sports facilities as we move forward in time. And I want to acknowledge that some people are having to make a sacrifice now for the future. And I want to thank them for that and guarantee that we are going to continue to work with them to help them over this little hump. But I can guarantee this is going to be a hugely beneficial thing for the whole community in the long run. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Cumbers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm happy to second the recommendations on this report, and I reserve my right to speak later. Thank you.
Before we enter the debate, I propose that we now enter exempt session, and I propose that the press and public be excluded during the consideration of the following item of business in accordance with paragraph 3, part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. Can I have a seconder, please?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to second your proposal to go into exempt session.
We'll now proceed to a vote. Either for, against, or abstain, please.
It's for exempt session, yeah. This
For
is
the exempt
it's for
session.
session.
Yeah. That's been carried. Thank you.
We're now in exempt session.
We're now in exempt session.
Wait.
No.
Wait, hold tight. Yeah, we're now exempt. We're now exempt, and you